I'm Tanner.
And I'm Jess.
And we do a show called Project Weird, where Jess and I dive into the weird world of the paranormal, cryptozoology, demons, and the like. So if that sounds like something you're into, we are a show that's based on learning and finding an entry point into the weird and sometimes pseudo-intellectual world of the paranormal. So if that kind of sounds like your thing, or even if it doesn't, give us a shot. It only gets weirder from here. Stay weird, friends.
Bye.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners just like you. And we're back. Wait, this is us back.
This is us back.
It's the first back.
It's the first back.
The first free back.
Yes, yeah. For those of you that pay for this, you've been paying for it.
Yeah. So you've been getting it.
You haven't gotten rid of us.
No.
But
So, and I'm finally not drunk.
We're officially for free back from Docmas.
Yes, exactly.
Sober, healthy, happy.
Well,
I mean, never happy.
No, but
that's why we desperately seek the attention of strangers online.
And honestly, I just had Bailey's in my coffee, so rarely sober, I would say, at least for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think you're still not drinking, really.
I mean, I've had the odd drink.
Obviously, your daily 4 bottles of beer, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't want to go crazy.
The sickness will come back.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're back. This is episode 99.
I got 99 issues, and maybe one's good. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wait, I can do this. I got 99 issues, but
Aquaman ain't one.
I caved under the pressure. I'm so sorry.
Which is weird because, I mean, notably, your improv skills are so solid.
Yeah, not rusty at all.
Yeah, no, it's unlike you. I'm very surprised. Oh, well, there is a lot of news that we have missed. I've tried to cut it down to the and hopefully spread it out between a few episodes. But
sure.
At the same time, there was the holiday, so there wasn't a bunch of mind-blowing news. But
no, nothing too insane, I don't think.
No, but there's some interesting stuff. This first piece of news is pretty fun, and I don't know if you've gotten to hear it yet, but I'll see if you have.
Sure.
Director Sandberg releases an unofficial commentary track for Shazam film.
Sorry, there's an unofficial commentary track. Is this just a jokey thing?
It's a kind of jokey thing.
Sure.
I think it might actually be a part of the movie, maybe. But have you heard it yet?
No.
Okay. Well, it's only like a minute and a half or two,
sure,
so
yeah.
it's really funny.
All right. That's awesome. That's very funny.
I was so happy when
he's been pretty fun online with people asking him questions about the movie and stuff like that.
I think it makes me all these little pieces, little bits of things that we've been receiving from him and from this production in general make me more and more excited for this movie. Like he clearly, I think that's giving us an idea of maybe the level of humor that we're going to be seeing.
But it also what it shows for sure is that people are enjoying themselves making these movies. So that's always going to translate into the film. Does that mean the film's going to be the best thing you've ever seen? No. But if people are enjoying themselves, if they're having a good time making the movie, if they're getting excited, then that's going to be in there somewhere. It's always going to make it better than people who are no, we can't joke about that. No, it's not funny. You know what I mean?
It's true. And I think one of the things that I really enjoy about it too is obviously they're making.
Look at Thor Ragnarok, right? There was all that. Where was Thor during Civil War?
That's right. Oh, yeah.
That roommate. And then look at Thor Ragnarok. That is a movie that is having a great fucking time.
It's true. And I also think it shows a level of self-awareness from Sandberg that obviously people have made a lot of predictions about this movie based on his horror background. So he's obviously making some sort of commentary on that within this, like using the Annabelle logo. And I don't know why you would think that.
It's actually, it's funny that, James Wan and him now.
Horror directors make good superhero
We just got to
movies.
get Jordan Peele to give us Green Lantern Corps or something.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
I mean, I said it just as a joke, but DC execs, get Jordan Peele for Green Lantern Corps.
Get Kubrick back alive to make...
I think we might have moved on as a society from Kubrick.
Well, maybe, but I'm just saying. A Kubrick, Victor Zsasz, I think would be a fun combination.
Oh no! Oh God, I'm just picturing that like fucking. It's just Full Metal Jacket to me, but with knives instead of guns. Like
you know what the porn version of that is, right?
This is my knife. Oh no!
Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Don't you fucking hold up the afterback. I know you know it's fun. So here's a piece of information that I thought was kind of interesting. There's been a lot of talk about Henry Cavill's future as Superman.
Yeah.
Recently, there was an article released with a quote from Jason Momoa saying Henry Cavill is 100% not leaving Superman role.
Yeah, he said that, and
I don't think they let him say that. I feel like...
Well, first of all, I don't think anyone lets Jason Momoa say anything.
I mean, I guess
he's
that's
also
true.
the one that was like, Snyder cuts.
I guess, but he's not saying there is a Snyder cut and you're going to see it. He was saying, I want a Snyder cut.
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's the authority on the matter. I certainly hope that's true. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he's a great Superman.
I think he totally is. I just think he hasn't had the opportunity, in my opinion, to like really show what he can do as Superman.
I would love for him to come back. Whether that means in a Superman movie or whether that means like even if it's like a team up movie, Superman and Flash, or you know what I mean, like something like that. Like not everything has to be a solo.
And
film.
maybe you know what I mean. That's a thing that
I'd be cool with all sorts of different things. But
I wonder if I recently have been
Superman and Supergirl.
Well, here's the thing. I've been reading up a little bit on Hulk recently, and a lot of opinions of why he hasn't gotten his own movie. And I think a lot of the time, I think he's so much of a character that it's better to have him on the side.
Well, isn't it also a rights issue? Doesn't Universal have the rights to the Incredible Hulk and like some of those characters, like the Leader and Abomination?
Do you know how many times they've made I think they have no issue using the Hulk. I mean,
yeah, fair enough.
I think that's not a problem. I think the problem is that there's not enough of a reason for him to have his own movie. Like besides there's an origin story, but beyond that, he's just kind of a guy who's hiding from himself. I think with Superman, all he ever has is this is Superman with this villain. Here's Superman and he's an alien. But there's never enough of being like, this is the thing he wants and this is the thing he's going for. I think it's easier to do that with characters like Batman. But I think so. I wonder if he would do better in a sort of team up movie, like you were saying, similar to what they did with Hulk and Thor. I think that maybe that is really the place. We've given him enough movies. Maybe it's time to see what he does as like a sort of a sidekick.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not done with Superman, but I might be done, like you said, with
solo
movies. That also doesn't mean I need every movie to be a team up or anything like that. But like, you know, what are the things that we don't see enough of out of Superman? Maybe Superman as mentor, Superman as like inspiration, not just to citizens, but to heroes.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that was the hope maybe with Shazam, is that there'd be some element of Superman in there. Cause I mean, there's comic book precedents for that too, right?
I enjoy when he also is forced to suppress his powers more.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Superman for all seasons movie. Just saying.
Do you like that story or?
I mean, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I basically at the end of this, we don't know what the state is. We still don't know what the state is for Ben Affleck as Batman, but apparently that is going into production late this year.
The Batman just got pushed to
late 2019.
Yeah. But I mean, the reality
production
is
to start.
But that's happening. So,
but we still don't even know if it's Ben
Affleck.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, I mean, we're within a calendar year of this like being started, and like, yeah, I mean, that's still plenty of time, but like it would be kind of nice to know.
They're like, yeah, Affleck's in the movie. You see it. It's just like a talking duck.
Or if it's a year one thing, like
Affleck.
yeah. If it's a year one thing, like even if they cast someone else, are we still to assume that they are playing like young Ben Affleck? Or is it still DCEU? Is it like there's a lot of questions still for a movie that's about to start production?
Well,
basically.
it's funny actually. Let's talk about a piece of news that kind of is related to that, which is Armie Hammer recently discussed the Batman that almost was.
Oh, is this Justice League Mortal, the George Miller's Justice League movie? That almost happened in what is it, like 2003 or something like that?
But it brings up an interesting thing, which is Armie Hammer as a fucking Bruce Wayne Batman is unbelievable. I actually am so on board with this. I think he would make the perfect Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Of all of the castings from that George Miller,
I was John Hamm for so long, but I'm kind of Armie Hammer right now. Like,
do you know what one I kind of am? Is I'm kind of Jake Gyllenhaal in a weird way.
I think he would make a better Nightwing, in my opinion.
I don't know. Like as a slightly younger Ben Affleck Batman, I might go Jake Gyllenhaal.
Really?
Yeah.
Eh? I don't know. I don't see him as. I know he doesn't have the sort of like the regal like Bruce Wayne look to me. I think he works well as like a.
But part of this is I saw Nightcrawler and I was like, oh, Jake Gyllenhaal can play the darkness, man.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, maybe.
I just think Armie Hammer has that where he.
I mean, Armie Hammer looks like a Bruce Wayne. You're right. He looks like a Batman.
You've got that sort of pompous look about him, but that also, if you look a little longer, you're like, oh, there's a whole bunch of darkness behind those eyes, and like that's the perfect Batman look to me.
Totally.
Goddamn, I want that Batman now. Fuck, it makes me very, very sad. I think that would be so rad. I hope that somebody uses him in some sort of superhero role at some point.
Yeah,
I think he's had a monumental like 2018.
Armie Hammer's finally getting his due. He's been in lots of movies, and then the couple of times where he was like a lead in a big movie, it was like Lone Ranger or something like that. But he's like, or Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I loved, but people didn't like.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And it feels like he's finally like getting his due, and he's been in these great movies like Call Me by Your Name and all this kind of stuff.
I think he's got the chops. I think he just hasn't had the opportunity.
Yeah,
I would love to see him in that kind of role. But
Hawkman, Carter Hall.
Fuck, he would totally make a good Hawkman. Oh,
DC execs.
Am I attracted to Armie?
Is that a question?
I mean, no, you're right. I'd eat a peach. I'm just saying. Next piece of news. We got a new behind the scenes video from the Swamp Thing.
Oh, I have not seen this.
It's not like you've got personal stuff going on in your life right now that's kept you from seeing DC news, but
no, not at all.
Let me be your no, I was going to say gatekeeper, that's not the right word.
Come on. The real Richard comes out.
Like, as if I've been hiding. That's a terrifying prospect. It's a literally funny video.
All right, let's have it.
All right. So
that's very cute. It's like all the swamp footage with like gondola music.
Because they have some guys rowing it. It's very cute, but I think what it gets me super excited though is the look that they've got going on from like a third party camera. Like this isn't even like a film camera. You're getting an idea of what that sort of visualization is going to be, and I am on board.
I'm very excited for that one. I just. What a great time to be alive, man. We finished season 1 of Titans. Doom Patrol's about to come out. They dropped the first 3 episodes of Young Justice Outsiders.
That's right.
We're getting Swamp Thing. We're going to get Stargirl. We're going to get that Harley Quinn series. Like, holy shit, guys.
It's one hell of a 2019.
The Flash has been great this season. Legends, obviously. Arrow, Supergirl, and Black Lightning.
Sorry, what?
What?
I'm stoked. I the more I see from this, I'm like, I
just keep thinking about how they cast what's his name, Kevin Durand as Jason Woodrue as the Floronic Man.
Yeah,
Like,
You're on board?
I'm in.
Yeah. It's going to be good. So this was a piece of news from yesterday, I think, that we talked a little bit about online, but DC's working on a 2-part animated film from Batman The Long Halloween.
Yes. I sent that to you.
Yes.
Because those are your boys.
That's my boys.
Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale.
I am terrified what they'll do with the artwork, but otherwise...
Well, but if it's like some of the... Well... Now, here's the thing. The Death of Superman one, they weirdly made the choice to make it fit into their sort of New 52 animated universe.
Yeah.
But when they did like Dark Knight Returns, they did it in Frank Miller's art style.
Yeah.
And it looks great.
And
I kind of thought that's what they were going to do with Death of Superman.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. I would hope with this one, with Long Halloween, it looks more like that. When they did Killing Joke, they made it look a bit more like, who's it, Brian Boland, like his artwork, right? I would hope for Long Halloween, they make it look a little bit more like Tim Sale. You know, Batman Year One, that animated one, that looks like the comic. Like, they have done that in the past, so I hope that's what they do with this one.
I just think that his use of like color and like angles would be so interesting to see. It's an art style that we haven't really seen before. I think
closest would have been like Year One kind of look.
Similar, but I think it's more sort of demented looking.
Yeah.
I think that you could really do something really interesting.
But beyond that, you excited?
Oh, I'm over the moon excited right now. The only thing that could have made me more excited would be the Superman for all seasons, but I know that there's no chance I'm ever getting.
Do we know when it comes out?
Does
Does it come out this year? Will we get to do it for October?
I mean, that would be perfect if it's just like in development. I doubt it, but let's see if I can find out right now.
I don't know what the timeline is for some of those animated ones, or maybe we'd get part 1, not part 2, or something like that. But
well, it'd be interesting to do it. Part 1 is Halloween, part 2 is Christmas, maybe something like that. But
it goes through the whole year, right?
Yeah. But I just mean that like it's a short enough period of time between the two pieces that you could.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't look like there's anything yet.
Oh, okay. Well, still very exciting.
Super excited.
And it's sort of part of their like ongoing agenda to basically make
all of their
at least like an animated version of most of like their big arcs for at least Superman and Batman. Lots of other characters have arcs that don't get made into things, but
neither of us have seen it yet, but Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think that really sets a whole new precedent for like animated comic book movies. Yeah. Do you think that DC will take a look at that and try to do something of their own?
Interesting.
Because it's been insanely successful. #1 movie of the year.
You mean like in that kind of style?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily in that style, but like a theater released like DC animated movie.
I think the one for this year will be the sequel to Teen Titans Go to the Movies,
which has been really successful. But I think something that's a little bit more
like just a regular movie, but animated.
Yeah,
I would hope so, but yeah, I don't know.
Would you have a pitch for a story that would work for that, or do you think it has to be something unique?
I think if you're going to do something like that, you take something weird or high concept or something like that.
I think that's one of the things that works for Spider-Man was it's a weird.
What I would have suggested even before Into the Spider-Verse came out is like something with parallel Earths, because that's like you could technically do that live action and just have Henry Cavill with a slightly different haircut, and like things like that. But I think it's easier, less money, less risk to do something like that. Something with the Crime Syndicate, or you do something with like the Multiversity. Like that. I'd be into like a Multiversity made into like an animated thing. Although even that would be better, maybe not theatrical, because then you could do like an episode for each like Earth or some shit like that.
And I think maybe that's
too high concept. Maybe somewhere in between, but like a crisis-y kind of event, like 0 Hour, or like take something like that. That might be kind of interesting.
I think maybe going television route might be an interesting way to do it. Anyways,
do Crisis on Infinite Earths, although they're doing that on TV next.
I know, but like for me, I think doing a direct response through the theater might not be the best option, because it's just like, now is our chance, and I think it will fail.
Well, yes, that
you're not going to be able to capture that.
That's the sort of thing that I would have pitched, though, right?
Yeah,
like Into the Spider-Verse is precisely the sort of story. I'm not trying to take credit for Into the Spider-Verse.
It just sounds like you're trying to take credit,
but that idea of like, what's something that's like maybe too tricky or risky for us to try live action.
Yeah.
Parallel Earths, different versions of things like that. But what's visually interesting, we see different versions of a character we know and are familiar with. That makes sense to me. You put the Flash in it and the flashes of different Earths. Like
it's
that,
true.
That makes perfect sense to me. But
but
they already did it. So yeah, if DC did go for some sort of like kind of big budget animated theatrical release, I don't know what they would do at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm up for it. I think right now DC's killing it through the television landscape. I think they've got 2 movies coming out this year. I don't think we need to go much beyond that, but
no.
All right. Well, next piece of news is just a little thing that I thought was interesting. Everybody's been posting it online, but DC Comics includes a Stan Lee tribute to start 2019. And I think this is worth touching on because I think they handled that so well.
It's just the back cover, right?
Yeah.
It says like basically like from the distinguished competition, like Excelsior.
Yeah. And I just think
it's just
that
a little tribute.
It's I think it's worth saying like, well done, DC. I'm glad that you did that. I think it was a good job.
I mean, we said it when we did our like Stan Lee sort of tribute-y episode. Stan Lee is Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
But he's also comics.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many things that we take for granted that are like, they become cliche now.
Yeah.
But that's Stan Lee. Like, Stan Lee is the architect of a lot of what modern comics is built on.
It's true. And I don't know if we would have gotten to where we are right now with comics if it wasn't for Stan Lee. And I think that's important.
No, it would be a totally different landscape. Comics would exist anyway, but they wouldn't be the way they are now.
I think it's very much like, you could say he's very much like the Steve Jobs, I think, of Marvel, which is he did a lot for the industry. He was a very polarizing figure, but at the same point, he did things that drastically changed it for a lot of the better.
And you're right. He was kind of like a figurehead. He was like a face that people were like, that's comic books. Even if
he came with a lot of concepts, but he didn't really write or draw. He was really just more of like, here's a great idea, run with it.
Well, he was a writer.
He was, but I think he
wrote for a long time. But I think maybe his bigger impact is just as an ambassador for comic books, for superhero stories and things like that, right? And even though, like, he's a man of good humor, he cameoed in Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Like, he's
self-aware enough.
He's self-aware, and he did that small like series and stuff for DC. Like he just loved comics and loved superheroes. So I don't think it's. I think it's entirely appropriate for other companies and other people to have like formal tribute to Stan Lee.
I think it's great.
Anyone in comic books of any genre, but specifically superheroes, owes him a lot.
I think it's the right level of appreciation, and it's appropriate and very professional. And I think it's like it's just
short and sweet and very.
I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. So this next one's really interesting. I didn't even know that this had existed. Apparently, we got a first crypto image from DC Universe that they released.
Well, yeah. We both finished Titans.
Yeah, but I did not.
You missed the post-credit scene.
I did, which was Superboy.
Yeah, spoilers. I was about to say spoilers, but that was Richard. Richard fucked that one up.
I don't give a shit.
Spoilers ahead.
It's not really a spoiler. It's just a character.
The sort of tag end credit scene of Titans Season 1 is you're in Project Cadmus.
Yeah.
And you see like the pod like open, and he's got like a Superman mark on him, and it's clearly Kal-El. It's clearly a clone of Superman. And he opens this other cage, and there's a white dog in it, and the dog's eyes glow. And then so Kal-El and Crypto make a cameo at the end of Season 1 of Titans. And we've already gotten like Donna Troy. We've made reference to Wonder Woman and to Batman and all these other like they really live in a bigger world of superheroes than some other superheroes shows do, where they just kind of are in their own little bubble. So yeah, very excited to, and I mean, like, Season 1, we'll talk about it more when we do a proper Teen Titans episode, but like Season 1 does not solve things.
No, if anything, it just like opens things farther out.
Oh yeah, it like Season 1 just like ramps. Like Season 2 is not starting at like great, like, and now something new.
If anything,
it's like season 2 is like still
an introduction
in the thick of it. Yeah,
so they're kind of just like, oh, here's these awesome characters. This is what they're about to deal with.
And if they're about to deal with it, and they're still just ramping up, and we're introducing like Kal-El and stuff like
what's the scale of this season going to be? Because they're really ramping it up to be huge.
Well, yeah, and this is, I mean, we're already, I don't want to get too deep into it, but we've seen Trigon sort of in a human form.
Yeah.
But in Starfire's ship, there's a hologram of Trigon. It does not look human. So like the season 2, do we see like Trigon? Like who knows, right? Like this show is really
setting its own pace,
blowing things up a little bit. Yeah.
And we'll do an official Titans episode at some point. But I just want to say kudos to calling this the end for the season 1. We don't need to spoil what it is, but you totally did, and I'm very impressed. So,
well, normally that doesn't work when I do that.
No,
so I'll take credit for this.
I know. I was just like, wait a minute. He said. I was like, I told my wife, I was like, he called this. It was awesome. All right, well, let's wrap up this piece of news with some wonderful news that leads into this episode, which is Aquaman is projected to cross the 1 billion worldwide and 300 domestic. We just hit 940.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hot damn.
God damn. Did you ever see a world where an Aquaman movie would be the #1 DC movie?
Well, okay. It's still not the #1 DC movie in general.
Close. It's DCEU.
It's the #1 DCEU movie. It's also the #1 DC movie worldwide, like non-domestic. It just beat Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
It hasn't beaten, like, in total numbers, Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises yet. But Dark Knight it might not be Dark Knight Rises. That might be a bit of a stretch because that was almost 2 billion.
Was it really that high?
It was like 1.8 or something crazy like that. But yeah, I mean, you're right though. Like, again, what a time to be alive. Aquaman is like $1 billion superhero franchise. It's kind of, you would be laughed out of a film studio if you said that 10 years ago. Like,
oh yeah, like, I mean, without a doubt, I don't see that a world where that was ever possible.
Yeah.
I did not, and coming into this, I didn't like 4 months ago.
And for context, for those who actually listen, we're getting excited. It's just nice to see it successful and that people are liking it. The actual box office number does not dictate whether or not a movie is good, clearly. But for context, for those who do care about that kind of stuff, most Marvel movies do not hit $1 billion. I think we maybe just assume they do, but they don't. Like, it's been the Avengers films and Black Panther, I think, are the ones that did $1 billion. Some of the close seconds and things like that are things like Thor Ragnarok in like the 800 sort of million range, or Civil War or things like that, right? But I think for a solo superhero movie to crack that kind of,
it's insane
to crack that mark the way Black Panther did early in 2018. It's pretty wild. It just means people are enjoying it. They're having fun. And that isn't just people who like Aquaman already. Like, you don't make $1 billion off the people who were already into it. So like, again, if even like 0.1% of the people that see this movie pick up an Aquaman comic, that's dope.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's great. I think I'd be curious to see if the numbers for Aquaman go up for comics.
Usually they aren't as tied as we might want them to be.
No, and I know that, but I wonder if even if you just get like,
I mean, you've told me that you want to start reading Aquaman.
Well, hell yeah! # the wetter the better. It's the year of Aquaman for me.
Move over Batman's 80th birthday.
That's right. Well, I mean, that goes into this week's theme, which is bloop, 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 bloop.
Aquaman.
Well, I can't talk underwater, so.
Oh, sorry. Wait, am I Aquaman?
I mean, for this podcast purposes, you're wearing the symbol.
Shirt,
yeah.
I'm wearing the shirt. I've got the tattoo. Let's do it.
You're closest we've got.
Thank you. Yeah, we're
# the wetter the better. This is the week of Aquaman.
We're gonna do this whole episode is about the Sea King. So
yes, everyone
not to be confused with Sea King, the Earth 3 evil crime syndicate version of Aquaman.
No, Atlantis has a lot of seamen, but this is the Sea King.
Swallow, come.
We've got a lot of questions. I think this is one that we've been secretly, I think, building towards because people know your fandom is thick and juicy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, I should start calling it the fandom.
Yeah. So let's for
My wife listens to this.
For lack of a better term,
My parents listen to this.
let's dive into the questions.
Nice.
Yeah,
let's do it.
So let's head on over to Facebook.
Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook.
And from everyone's favorite chicken friend, Chicken Maddie.
Yes.
The flightless bird of question askers.
Matt Poulter.
Yeah.
Chicken Matt.
Chicken Maddie asks, if literally every superhero was wiped out aside from Aquaman, or maybe half of them because somebody like snapped their fingers.
That's Marvel.
Yeah, fuck yourself. Would it be possible?
Fucking kidding me?
I've got to get out the swears before we do the 101.
Oh, yeah.
Would it be possible for him to simultaneously be the best and worst superhero?
No, do you know what? I'm gonna treat this question very seriously. It's clearly a jokey question. I'm gonna treat it very seriously. So Matt, if you're listening, I want to make sure that you hear this. Just turn the volume up a little bit in your headphones. I want to make sure you hear this. Go fuck yourself. Even if all of the superheroes remained alive and active, Aquaman is
still,
I won't say chief among them, but like up there.
Yes.
He's a founding member of the Justice League. He's as powerful as Wonder Woman sometimes. I'd give Wonder Woman the edge, frankly, but he's a king. He commands the largest nation on the planet.
Yeah. And the area of the world that he commands is technically much larger than the land.
And also, let's say you're the president of like the United States. That doesn't mean you also get control of like the coyotes and rattlesnakes and shit like that. But Aquaman not only commands a nation, but every animal that's like even in proximity to that nation.
It's true. And also like any animal that, does this count as any animal that tends to spend a lot of time in the water?
Yeah. I mean, strictly speaking, his telepathy works with marine animals. But if he like pushes himself, he can try to use it for other things, but like that's not what it's designed for. It might hurt him, it might hurt the target.
But like a beaver?
No. I'd say no. Because no.
No?
I would say no. Seals? Yes. Dolphins, sure. Beaver, no.
Okay. I mean, he commands.
I was like, wait for it.
You know what? Actually, before we keep going,
Jesus Christ,
we haven't talked about on the free our opinion of Aquaman.
It was amazing. Let's keep going.
Yeah. That's right. You have to pay for it. Unless you were lucky enough to be one of the people that download that episode before I realized I uploaded the Aquaman episode.
Sure, generally, like, I love that movie. I thought it was amazing. Visually really cool. I can't believe how much they crammed into that movie, but it doesn't feel like, Avengers 2 or even like that sort of middle portion of Batman v Superman. There's a lot of like, and this is a movie, and this is a movie, and this is a movie.
It's true.
But Aquaman doesn't feel that way. But they do put a lot in there. Like you see all of the 7 seas, the 7 kingdoms of what was Atlantis.
Yeah.
It's a big globe-trotty adventure. We get Black Manta and Ocean Master as villains, in addition to other characters like Vulko, King Nereus, Atlanta, Mira. There's lots going on. Dr. Stephen Shin is even in there a little bit. It's got a lot of fun. It's got a lot of heart. Like I said, visually spectacular. And I can't believe like how well it works when you just trust that the comic book look translates to screen, right? Like in terms, especially Mira, Ocean Master, and Aquaman. Those 3 costumes look phenomenal. They're really spectacular. The performances are generally very good. Patrick Wilson's a great villain. I love Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Black Manta.
Jason Momoa is there.
Jason Momoa is good, but clearly not the strongest actor in that movie. But it's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't ruin it.
Yeah.
The only thing that ruins that movie is Pitbull.
# put the dog down.
# put the dog down.
I'm an owner of a pit bull. I love dogs.
Wait, is that what?
Lucy's a pit bull, yeah.
I thought pit bulls were smaller.
No. No.
Is she a cross with something?
Yeah.
Because she's almost got like a greyhoundy kind of
It's the
body.
boxer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's the deep chest is the boxer, but her head's all pit bull. Her eyes, like it's that square sort of.
I thought Don
head.
Cherry's dog was a pit bull.
It's a type of pit bull. That's,
I just thought they all looked like.
no. So pit bulls.
So she's
are-
a cross, though.
Yeah, but pit bulls are like is not even an actual breed. It's just like a term people have come for, and there's a bunch of different dogs within that. So there's an American Staffordshire Terrier, which is what she is. That's a pit bull.
Oh, I see.
What Don Cherry has is a bull terrier.
Had.
Or I guess had.
Blue's been dead for like 20 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Canadian listeners are the only ones that care about that.
Yeah, that's a bull terrier, which is something I really want. I love that little
Sure,
it's the target dog, I guess you could say. But
Yeah.
it's a broad spectrum. But,
Gotcha.
But yes, put the dog down.
Yeah, hashtag put the dog down. But Aquaman, great movie. Go see it. Help it cross $1 billion.
Yeah, and subscribe to our Patreon and get the episode because we go into
We do have
super depth.
an in-depth Aquaman review in
And
there.
I think it would tie quite nicely with this episode. So
I think it does pair nicely.
yes, like a white wine and fish. I don't.
Is that an inappropriate joke?
If you take it there, sure.
Well, it's you. I don't know.
What's wrong with you?
Get fucked.
This is
What's the next question?
Inappropriate. The next question comes from.
How are we ever going to do a clean episode?
We're trying to get it out here.
Ugh.
So the next question comes from Michael O'Brien.
Nice. Not offensive.
No. His Conan's lesser known cousin, Michael O'Brien.
Yeah, Michael O'Brien. Who's like distant descendant will be the transporter chief on the Enterprise D.
Wow. Way to go.
You're welcome.
Have you ever seen the Chief O'Brien like comics?
No.
Really?
I'll have to look that up.
Oh my god. Now I want to. Can we just stop recording?
Yeah, this isn't important.
No, this is more important though because there's these comics called Chief O'Brien at Work. And it's just these comics of him just sitting at the transporter. And it's these very like he'll say one thing and it's this like long panel and it's about him like being like hating his job.
Oh Jesus.
Like
I do like that. Okay, I'll have to check those out.
it's really, really good. He put out, the guy who makes them made like one
Like a
actual book,
Yeah.
but you can't get them anywhere. But it's all
I like it.
It's all super, super, super funny. Yeah, Chief O'Brien at Work. If you haven't read that, go check it out because it's so funny.
Okay, so what is Michael O'Brien's question?
Michael O'Brien says, "Are there Aquaman villains who aren't forced to have water ties?"
Right. So,
Which is
which is a little bit like, are there Flash villains that don't have speed? But there are for the Flash. There are technically like Aquaman villains that aren't. Well, they're not all Atlantean. Let's put it that way.
Black Manta.
They're not all Atlantean. There are lots of humans, but like by necessity, almost they need some sort of access to water to be like to regularly encounter Aquaman, right? Or else the assumption is if you're a villain on land, what is the likelihood of you running into Aquaman more frequently than the Flash or the Atom or someone like that, right?
Yeah.
So sort of almost by definition, that's almost like saying like how many Green Lantern villains aren't aliens? Like he's in space, a bunch are going to be aliens.
It's true.
So characters like the Scavenger, the Fisherman, as they were sort of in the Silver Age or things like this, like Charybdis, King Shark occasionally. Like there's a lot that have like a water thing going on because that's where you're most likely to encounter Aquaman. But I will say it's happened a couple of times in the comics. They did it in Injustice 2, and a villain I actually really like put up against Aquaman is Grodd.
Ooh.
I'm into it. I think part of it is that they both kind of come from these like ancient civilizations. Mm-hmm. There's a bit of a connection there. In the comics, there's like a literal former connection. Like there was an ancient portal that was closed that used to be between like the raised Atlantis and Gorilla City from like better days.
Oh, really?
Things like that. They both have like some sort of psionic, like telepathic power. Mm-hmm. Obviously Aquaman's is more specific than Grodd's, but there's still something in there. they're good physical competition for each other, and
Grodd's an animal.
They're both, like, rightfully or not, they're both kind of monarchs. Like there's a lot that I like about pitting Grodd and Aquaman against
Grodd's
each
a
other.
king of animals, I think, and has a lot of control over the animal population.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's a lot that I like about that. I won't say that it happens a ton, and I certainly won't say that it happens enough to consider him as much an Aquaman villain as a Flash one, because that would be ridiculous.
He's not in the rogues gallery of Aquaman.
No,
villains.
he's in Flashes. He's a Flash villain. It's, it'd be like, Flash has fought the Riddler, but the Riddler isn't a Flash villain.
No.
But I would want to see Aquaman go up against Grodd more and more.
Yeah, I'm into that.
I think I'd be into it.
I think that, like, if you had an Aquaman TV show, that would be a good way to, like, spice up a season, having a water character.
Aquaman DC TV is already, like, doing pretty well for me. Let's not just talk about Aquaman TV show.
You can. Speaking of semen, I think you just blew your load.
I was passed out. What happened? Why are my pants sticky?
Sorry. The next question is from a listener that we haven't, a resident we haven't heard from in a really long time.
Sure.
Tracy Ehrman.
Oh, okay, Tracy. All right.
Tracy asks, if Aquaman is DC, then why was the movie so corny? I thought DC was the serious sibling.
I mean, certainly in films, DC has a track record of being, yes, the serious sibling. That's totally true. But if you read the comics, DC and Marvel both have comics that go to, like, the darkness and the serious, and that have fun and are sort of crazy and stuff like that. I think it's about time that the movies also reflect that.
For me, I think
I would love to see more serious Marvel movies. Not for all of them to get.
But I mean,
way.
they're doing it on TV. I think, like,
but yes, Daredevil or things like that. That's a side of Marvel that is not, like, colorful and quippy.
Yeah.
And it's nice, conversely, then, to see a movie like Aquaman have some fun, maybe lean into some of those cliches a little bit, I think, and show a side that isn't just like, my parents.
Yeah, I think for me,
I think that's good.
One of the biggest lessons that DC has learned over the past, like, 5 years is that I think before they were trying to create a response to what Marvel was doing.
Yeah.
And I think now they're realizing where their strengths lie is just developing these independent stories and doing whatever they want based on creating a good product.
I think they were worried of looking like they were copying. So you're right. They were doing, like, what's not Marvel. But that denies an element of these characters from the comics, right? Like, if in the comics, both companies are all things, you know what I mean? The funny through the tragic. And so to completely deny part of it for fear of looking like you're copying Marvel, I think was to a detriment.
I think I heard this recently, and I thought this was a great sort of, it's a little minimizing, but I think that it's a really good way to describe Marvel against DC, which is Marvel is really good at characters, creating characters and developing them. DC is really good at creating universes. Not to say that DC doesn't have great characters, but I think that the universes is what you really, they spend so much time creating this very lived in,
lots of worlds,
a lot of worlds, when Marvel tends to not care that much about the worlds themselves, but more about the individual characters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't read enough Marvel to
but really even just looking at the movies, I think
something that I read that I found interesting was that they weren't surprised that Aquaman has done so well overseas, because they find that generally, internationally, the heroes that people just recognize are DC ones.
It's true.
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, like things like that.
Also, Aquaman is, like, built for an international audience.
Whereas the Marvel ones have a bigger following, maybe, like, closer to home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, these are both anecdotal kind of accounts.
No, but I think it's really interesting
to those. Yeah,
I think without a doubt, I think when you start thinking about the worlds of Marvel, and I've read a lot of Marvel myself. I'm not an expert in either, but I think that for me, you think about the individual stories, and that's based off of what Stan Lee does. Yeah, all of his creation is based off of the character development rather than the world building.
Well, yeah, his rule was, like, if you get powers, then you get a curse too.
It has nothing
like,
to do with that, right? Like, I think everyone knows the rules of Gotham. They don't really know the world of Metropolis as much as they know the rules of Superman. And I think of like Spider-Man.
Well, and part of that too is that Marvel's thing. I mean, Marvel also has made up locations,
Yeah.
but there's also a very like deliberate thing in Marvel where they're in New York City,
Yeah.
whereas DC was like Gotham, Metropolis, Coast City,
But with those, I
Midway
think
City, Keystone City, Central City, Hub City.
they spend a lot of time painting what those
Yeah,
worlds are.
they
And
do,
I
that's
think,
true.
but yeah, speaking of Aquaman movie, I think that movie was very much made for an international audience, maybe even more than a domestic one. When you start talking about, it's one, there's not a lot of like cultural references. There's not a ton of like overly emotional.
Great Gatsby.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not a lot of like, oh fuck that, goddamn hashtag put down the dog. There's not a lot of overly emotional performances, which means that they work really well for like subtitles and for like overdubs. Like I think it's really made for an international audience. I think that's one of the reasons why it's doing so well. But
Yeah, probably.
anyways, yeah. So I think, I mean, this was a kind of teasy question, but at the end of the day, it's true that DC
But kind
has
of legitimate
Yeah,
though too,
yeah,
because if you've just been looking at the track record, it's been like Batman movies for 10 years, and then like Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman, like even Wonder Woman, which has like genuine moments of joy and
Yeah.
color and things like that in it, is set in the First World War. It's
true.
full of death.
Yeah.
Like even Wonder Woman, which is a great movie, it tends to be more serious than Aquaman.
in the last 20 years, could you say that this is the first fun DC movie?
Like just outright fun.
yeah.
Yes, but it's not the first one to attempt it.
Okay, are you talking about Green Lantern?
Or like Jonah Hex. Like those are movies that were clearly like, let's have some fun with this, but then they like fucked it up.
Yeah. This one's that's the first successful movie.
I think this is the first one that is both good and fun.
Yeah, it's true. And it feels like a part of this new universe while still being different from it. So
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, let's go to the next question from our old friend Andrew Delgado.
Ooh.
Ooh, es caliente. Muchos bueno.
Is it rojo caliente?
Fuck you.
Mi gato es muy blanco. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Ocho. All right, Andrew asks, am I remembering right that Aquaman's powers were supposed to be tied to the blue? At least in some continuity. How does the blue intersect with the red and the green?
Right. So the blue, sometimes called the clear, is like...
Well, when I see it, it's the white, if you know what I mean.
Sorry, you say
coming.
when you see water, you come.
No, when I see Aquaman, I come.
Oh.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
Unless someone cuts that movie short, then I get the blue.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so the blue, aka the clear. Right, so what Andrew is referring to in terms of like the red and things like that, these are those natural kingdoms, right? The red is the collective consciousness of all animal life. The green is the collective consciousness of all plant life. That's where Animal Man and Swamp Thing get
Definitely.
their powers from as avatars.
Yeah.
The blue is a little bit different because
I'm blue.
it's more about it. It's not a kingdom in its own, right? Like the green is plants, the red is animals, the black is rot or decay. You know, there's the mycos, which is the gray, that's like fungal kingdom. There's the divided, which is bacteria. But like blue is just like the ocean. Like that's not life, right?
And
there
really-
are plants and animals and bacteria.
Should
and
be the clear because blue is just a reflection from the sky.
well, exactly. And like fungal forms are in the ocean. So really what the blue is almost like I wouldn't even call it another realm or anything. It doesn't necessarily get an avatar, although there are some comics. And on Earth 2 in the New 52, there was an avatar
They went there.
of the blue
Yeah.
and things like that. Like that was a thing. But I would say it's more of like maybe just a way to describe a very particular type of access to those webs, right?
Got a very particular access to
Of a particular set of skills. But can Aquaman talk to like marine plants? No.
No.
Is there someone that can in Atlantis? Probably. Like, but the blue to me is it's a concept that's often sort of swept away, often forgotten. It was sort of like brought in, but like didn't really go anywhere. But if we were going to sort of make a headcanon for it, it would just be it would be like a way of partitioning off like maybe how much access to the red Aquaman gets, right?
Red again.
Aquaman does not have like access to the red in the way that Animal Man or Vixen or Beast Boy do.
Yeah.
They can become or channel the powers of any animal.
This is more of like a separated
Aquaman doesn't even channel powers of the red, right? He can just communicate. So if he has any sort of connection via the blue, quote unquote, then it's extremely limited. I think it's reasonable to say that anyone that gets some form of an animal power has some kind of access to the red. But again, extremely limited.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't really, like, at the end of the day, the animals should be connected to the red, the plant life should be connected to the green. Like,
the one other thing I might say about the blue is that you maybe because it's like the environment in which those other things exist, you could make the argument that water powers might be tied to a thing called the blue. Maybe Mira as an aquakinetic has some sort of connection to the blue.
Yeah.
But to be honest, in the prime Earth, like the main continuity, the blue's not a thing. And we know that from Swamp Thing comics and things like that. Like it's not a thing right now. It's been mentioned before, but it's kind of swept under the rug.
Totally.
On Earth 2, the blue was a thing, definitely.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the next question. Oh, which is not in Facebook. We're leaving Facebook. We're heading on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
Oh, look, you are on point again.
I'm back, baby.
This is like 9 glasses in.
Yeah.
You did get better at it the more drunk you got. It was kind of interesting.
I drank the Alfred out of me.
It's true.
Yeah. I might want to rephrase that.
Yeah, I'm like, there's a lot of dark jokes I could make with that.
We'll fix that one in post.
Bruce Wayne's definitely said that.
No.
First question comes from Axel.
Oh, hey, Axel.
Axel. Not from Australia, but...
Is he not?
I don't think he
Why
actually
are we
is.
doing that?
I think, I've explained this before.
Oh, it's because Axel. It's fun to say.
Yeah, well, no, also because it's actually more of a New Zealand thing because of the show The Almighty Johnsons,
right.
which is from
Sorry, you have
one of the
said that,
characters'
yes,
names
yes.
is Axel. Yeah.
Right.
So I just can't help it. Axel asks, I heard that Aquaman's water hand could essentially dehydrate people just by touching them. Is this true?
So for a bit, Aquaman, we know he lost his hand in the 90s, and then he got the hook hand. And then after a bit, his hook hand got destroyed, and he was given this thing called the water bearer. It was a hand made of water, and he had some sort of water powers with it. And yes, I believe it is said that it can be used to dehydrate a foe. I've read a bunch of those comics, and I've actually looked into this online. There's a huge thread of people that are like, I've literally never seen this happen.
Like it's just something that someone said, and
I think that's what it is it's been said. And it's never been like fully shown.
And someone was just like, I heard this, and then it just turned into.
But let's just take it as like a headcanon thing. If the water bearer gives him some water controlling powers, we know Mira can dehydrate people.
Yeah,
she's done it in the comics before. So if
she took it the sweat off of Arthur, and
does it in the movie. In the comics, she like has dehydrated people like almost fully before. But if the water bearer has any sort of water kind of manipulation, water control powers, people are 70% water. It stands to reason that this hand could affect your body chemistry.
Could they also control the water inside people to make them do things?
Or make like their blood flow the wrong direction?
Yeah, well, that's what I wonder, right?
I mean, technically, yes, but I to me, that would be like a such like an expert level of control or mastery.
Mira could do it though.
I would suspect Mira is good enough and strong enough to do that. Yes.
Do you think that they just were like, we're not going to go there because?
Well, it's also like people not necessarily thinking about it, but like to invoke a different fandom entirely isn't like the dark like expert level of water bending, blood bending.
Oh, that's a good Avatar reference.
So to me, that makes sense.
Did you watch the later series?
The Legend of Korra?
Yeah. I people like it more. I think Avatar is still the best, but
I like it.
This next question comes from Raspberries Reviews, the kind you find on a secondhand podcast. Raz asks, I've been waiting for this episode for a while now. Well, haven't they all?
And we're out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. You can reach us on Facebook.
So obviously I need to ask what you thought of the movie. So we talked a little bit about it and what would you like to see in the sequel? So we've talked a little bit about it. I have some issues, mostly with the soundtrack.
Pitbull.
Hashtag put the dog down. And with that whole fucking Italy scene. But otherwise, I love the movie and I think it was great. Listen to our Patreon. If you haven't paid for it, I mean, this is a reason to. So
Yeah, definitely.
So if you still want to know, pay for it.
Wow, we're really drawing a line in the sand here.
This is
That's exclusive content. How dare you ask for it on the free?
and we talked a little. We just bleep out the entire answer.
Like some other podcasts.
I don't know what you're talking. Some other podcast on our network. I think we've talked a little bit about it. We'll hit some brief notes, which is I think I don't want to see this movie sequel. I want to see a different type of story if they're going to do it. I don't want to see.
You don't want to see
further,
another big army kind of thing.
No, I think that I think
not like another like Lord of the Ringsy battle sort of movie.
No, I think that they've done it so well this time. There's no way that it could live up to this. I think you need to go a completely different direction. Look at Thor. Look what they did with Thor Ragnarok. I think when you look what they did with Iron Man 3 and what happened with Iron Man 2, I think you look at every time that they do a really, really great movie like this, it's The Dark Knight's the only opportunity they really had where they it did even better. But most of the time, unless you completely change the format, and actually you could there's something you could say that they did that with Batman. Batman Begins and Dark Knight are kind of very different movies in a lot of ways.
It's only a sequel because some of the same actors are in it. Not even all of the same actors.
Yeah, it's
some of the same actors are in it.
It's true.
But otherwise, it's almost not a sequel.
No, it's just kind of like this was the same Batman. You get that.
The only reason it's a sequel is because The Dark Knight Rises makes a deliberate attempt to tie everything together.
Yeah, otherwise it's a completely different movie. So for me, I think that if you do this exact movie and just continue that story, I don't think it's going to work, and I think that it'll be fine. It'll be good, but it won't be as good in any sort of way. So I think you need to pull back, change, maybe do it more on land, maybe make a bottle story where you pull everything back and they have to do a small adventure. I don't know what it is, but I don't think that this same movie will work again. I think that this has been so special, it's not going to happen again.
I think I agree with that. Something very kind of personal, where we leave Black Manta, he's still got this blood vendetta. I think a movie of Black Manta going after Aquaman versus anyone through anyone he knows, people who say I was saved by the Aquaman or whatever, and then all of a sudden that guy's killed and it shows up on the that he's just trying to hunt him down. I think that's the kind of movie I want.
But make it just that storyline and cut out all of Atlantis and make it really just about that. But I think if you try to do the big world again, I don't think it's going to work. I think you need to. You
need a little bit of it because he's the king now.
Yeah,
you need to see a little bit of him as a king. But yes, I agree. It has to be a personal story as opposed to save the world.
And I think there's a great opportunity with that, with the fact that I don't think he really wants to be king, and I think he'll get real tired of being king pretty quickly. So you could very much be he's been king for a while. He really just doesn't want to sit on the throne and
the other side of this personal thing is that just because he's the rightful king and just because he's legitimately there doesn't mean that Atlanteans like him. And that's in the comics all the fucking time, that they don't like a surface dweller, an air breather on the throne. Atlanteans are notoriously xenophobic. I think that's an interesting other version of the personal story is he's trying to do his best. He was sort of forced into this situation, becoming king kind of against his will. He wants to be a good king, but no one wants him to be king. But he knows that if he isn't, Orm is. And he can't have that.
And
so
maybe he does something for one of the leaders of the other kingdoms, and helps them with a problem that they have, something like that. But I think if you can't do all of the Seven Seas story again.
I agree. All
right, let's move on. Yeah. Next question comes from Talking Superman. I mean, we're talking Aquaman, but
kind of on the wrong episode.
Yeah.
No, please don't go.
No, please God, we need every listen. The tens of you that we have.
For our dozen of listeners.
Yeah, that's right. I can't even say dozens. I think that would be okay.
I didn't even want to say Baker's dozen. I thought that was too much.
It's teetering on the edge.
I don't know, 13, really?
Talking Superman asks, villain you'd like to see more besides Orm and Manta? Black Manta. Which, to be fair, Manta is actually his grandfather, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. Right. An Aquaman villain that I would like to see other than those. I already talked about how I think Grodd is actually like a cool Aquaman villain.
Yeah.
But of actual Aquaman villains, I would like to see
his rogues gallery.
I'd like to see Siren. That's Mira's twin sister, who kind of has the ability to like mask her identity. She's obviously like got some seductress kind of powers. Siren.
Yeah.
You know? But then she also has like Mira's powers, but she's basically like evil Mira. I'd be interested in seeing Siren.
Is it twin sister? Is it a Mira?
Mira?
Mira on the wall.
Who's the what? No.
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
Yay.
I think of like actual established Aquaman villains, I'd be interested in seeing Siren. There might be something to the idea of seeing a character like Charybdis or something like that.
Ooh.
Especially if you want him to lose his hand.
Ooh, yeah.
Might be kind of neat.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think you could do that in the sequel. I think Black Manta can cut his hand off.
I think
it's
a lot of people stoked.
It's good comic book stuff. We've seen him in 2 movies with both hands. I think we can lose a hand.
Yeah, why not?
And if any actor is going to play a hook hand Aquaman, it's Momoa.
Yeah.
So I think that works too. That's a side sort of tangent.
If you want us to give a hand for the movie, take a hand from Aquaman.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it would be Siren or like Charybdis or something like that. Like go that kind of 90s sort of route.
I like that.
I guess Siren's not super 90s, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. All right.
Or Thanatos, like the sort of like netherworld version of Aquaman.
Thanatos better, man. Those fresh.
What a fucking reference. Yeah.
Thanatos is for life.
Yeah, those are my answers. Siren,
Thanatos,
Charybdis,
the wet maker.
or the wet maker, Thanatos. Yeah. The wet maker.
Oh.
That's what I should call it. Not the fandom. I'll call it Thanatos. The wet maker. Next episode, I'll talk about my divorce.
Oh, I figured the last 99 episodes is basically it's really just a long form storytelling.
That's just what she's just going to bring in the podcast feed and put it on the judge's desk, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, of course."
Yeah. What? It took you this long?
Yeah, my God.
Oh my God, get out. Next question comes from our spacey, sexy texter, Cosmic DM.
Yeah, sliding right in.
Yeah.
To the DMs.
Yeah. Like a rocket ship.
Like, yeah, you know how a rocket ship slides?
Oh.
Is that what that rocket ship here is for? Oh, where'd it go? It actually concerns me that I can't find it. Oh, yep.
Just adjusting. Cosmic DM asks, is there a reason Aquaman can talk to fish when other Atlanteans can't? Or why he had a cool water hand but doesn't water bend like Mira? Also, would you want the comics or movies to bring back a water hand? So let's first half. Why can he talk to fish and other Atlanteans can't?
I mean, Aquaman's got a few.
This is
I mean, like any comic book character, there's a few different versions of an origin, and things kind of just get blended together over time. But for a while, particularly in the 90s, which is a pretty big portion of what Aquaman's character is now, even though some of the specifics have sort of been washed away, he wasn't actually for a bit the son of Thomas Curry. He was actually like the son of like the spirit of Atlan, who before being the first king of Atlantis in the comics was like an Atlantean warlock kind of spirit. And so that was what made him different. It gave him blonde hair, which if you see the movies, they give like Orm blonde hair, but that's because Momoa doesn't have it. If you would cast like a blonde haired person as Aquaman, then Atlanteans would have dark hair.
Oh, okay.
You know, just to highlight the difference. But like, that's a thing that like his blonde hair and being a surface dweller is all part of the xenophobia thing, right? Like he is different. Talking to animals is not an Atlantean power. That said, there are like Atlantean beast masters and things like that. And even if they don't expressly have marine telepathy in the way that Aquaman does, they do have a connection to marine life. But yeah, so for a bit, Aquaman's powers, I think you could say, are unique because he got his powers from Atlan himself. I think in the context of where he is now, it's maybe what you would call like a metahuman power, that he's not only Atlantean but also metahuman. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. But Aquaman is also kind of like, they always do these things about like who is the rightful king or the true like ruler of the sea or things like that. Like there's always these things. So there's always this implication that he's somehow chosen or destined by Poseidon or by the sea itself or by whatever to sort of be the Aquaman, right? So there's always this idea that he is some sort of confluence of like destiny and prophecy and power, and that he's the heir to some of these things. I don't think there's an actual current continuity specific reason why he is the only one with those powers, but just generally speaking for superheroes and things like that, my most reasonable explanation is, like I said, he's not only part Atlantean, which you get the breathing underwater and stuff like that, just genetically, but he's also a metahuman. He's a metahuman Atlantean. So he has a power in addition to that. And then part of that too might be these sort of like gifts from the gods or a connection to, Drowned Earth just opened up the idea that like the seas of the universe are somehow connected to each other. And that Arian was sort of trying to make that happen. So there's that idea too, that he has some sort of like divine or universal or cosmic sort of connection to the sea as well, that he's sort of the nexus of all of these different things coming together. Water Hand, I actually don't love the Water Hand. I think it's kind of boring because it doesn't like, like he doesn't get Mira powers. He can't like make a tidal wave or stuff like that, but it's just like this Water Hand that has some water powers. I preferred Hook Hand to Water Hand. The Water Hand to me that was not the most interesting story. And the stories where he has a Water Hand aren't interesting because of the hand. It's interesting because like San Diego gets sunk, but everyone is genetically altered to survive underwater. It becomes this new colony called Sub Diego. And Aquaman is obviously critical in that story, and that's cool, but it has nothing to do with his hand. Like, it's just the era in which he also has that hand.
Oh, okay.
So no, I mean, I don't need to see the Water Bearer back. It felt for a while like they didn't know what to do with Aquaman, because he gets that hand, and then the Sub Diego thing happens, and then he encounters like a version of Manta who's like transformed into a monster because Manta made a deal with Neron for more power. And then Aquaman, in order to like, Sub Diego gets destroyed by the Spectre, and then Aquaman, to save some people, makes his own sort of deal, and he becomes this sort of like sea creature monster called the Dweller in the Depths, and he goes insane. And then this other character called Arthur Joseph Curry shows up and becomes Aquaman. And then eventually the Dweller is killed, like Arthur dies, and then that pretty much leads us to Blackest Night, where he's dead and then is resurrected and things like that. Like, it just kind of felt like they didn't know what to do with Aquaman. And I don't think those stories were super popular or anything like that. And it just kind of felt aimless. I think there's basically between the 90s Peter David run and then Jeff Johns' New 52, well, like Blackest Night, Brightest Day through New 52. I feel like, Aquaman was kind of like, it wasn't as muddy as Hawkman, but it was getting to that point of like, we just don't know what to do here. like it just felt like they didn't have ideas. Yeah. And then it kind of got reinvigorated by Jeff Johns. So I prefer not to think of that era, the Water Hand era. I don't need Arthur Joseph Curry. The only kind of bit I liked in there was that King Shark was kind of mentoring that Aquaman. That was kind of neat, but yeah, I don't really need that one.
Every time you say Water Bear, I always think of the tardigrade.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like Water Bear, yeah.
Yeah. Those things are freaky looking and yet cute at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's get Aquaman tied in with Star Trek Discovery.
Ooh, fuck. Fuck, that's so sad. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, that makes me sad again. Well, with that, the Dr. DC podcast will be back after this quick break.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Company. They've been our sponsor for a year now, since Docmas last year, and they're terrific, and we love them. I've got beard oil, I've got a beard balm, I've got this great bristle brush that I use in my beard. But basically, it's great. Even for those of us with no hair up top, if you've got lots on your face, it's terrific. Or if you're more like Richard, you got lots of hair up top. They've got styling creams and lip balms and all sorts of great stuff. Great Lakes Grooming Company is made in Canada. It's environmentally friendly, and it's basically designed for any sort of harsh weather extremes. So if you like hiking, if you like snowboarding, if you like surfing, all it doesn't matter what you do, this stuff is great to use. And for you lucky listeners, you get 10% off Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products when you go to greatlakesgrooming.com and use the promo code Dr. DC. That's right. You go to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and you use the promo code Dr. DC. No, that's not it. It's DRDC Podcast. Just making sure you're listening all the way through the ad. That's right. www.greatlakesgrooming.com. Promo code DRDC Podcast. All those people that turn the ad off because they thought they got the code, they're suckers. Not like you, though. You made it all the way through. You're a champion. And now, back to the show.
And we're back.
Hey.
Oh. And we're heading on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
It's been so long. Oh,
Still got it.
Yeah. First question comes from the real Josh Gill. Sexy Gill. Gill. God. Oh, man. He's been posting some thirst traps on Instagram.
He's been tagging you in some of his.
He knows where it's coming from.
I know, but don't you feel any shame?
You really asking that question? I think we both know.
We're only 99 episodes in. I don't know. It's not too late for an epiphany or something.
You know what? He could hit.
You're not locked in. At 100, you're locked in. You still have time to change.
Funny that you say that. Today's actually Epiphany.
What?
The holiday, the Italian holiday.
That's an Italian holiday?
Yeah, it's a religious holiday, but yeah, it's called Epiphany.
But only for Italians?
Well, no, it's a thing that was created in Italy.
But it's a
Roman Catholic thing, yeah.
But only Italian Catholics?
No, but I mean, that's Roman Catholic. That's where it came from.
Oh, I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
My grandmother was Roman Catholic. I don't know what an epiphany is. Well, I know what an epiphany is. I don't know what...
Did you just have an epiphany? Josh asks, thoughts on Black Manta officially being given a name in the New 52? Does that diminish him as a villain or make him more dynamic and powerful by humanizing him?
Right. So before the New 52, Black Manta was kind of like Joker in that we didn't really know who he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a more definitive origin.
Yeah.
But he was just like a guy, he was just a dude.
Something happened. Black Manta's here. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, for the Joker, I've been very specific that I don't like the idea of one single definitive origin for the Joker, apart from once he's already becoming a criminal, gets dropped in the acid, becomes the Joker fully. That I'm into, but I don't need to know who he is. I don't need to know his childhood.
I was watching
I don't need to know any of that stuff. That being said, I'm still weirdly excited for that Joker movie. I shouldn't be.
I was watching The Dark Knight this morning. And God, I love the way that they change his story constantly.
Well, exactly, and that's a thing from Killing Joke too, right? It's sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes another. That I like the sort of multiple choice that even maybe he doesn't even know anymore.
Yeah.
Or the latest sort of inversion, which is that there are 3 Jokers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's another thing I kind of dig. Just that you can never pin them down, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't bug me as much with Black Manta. We don't have a full origin for him, But what I like about I do think it humanized him a bit. Like, the Joker is so chaotic, such a force of nature. And it makes sense not to pin him down. But Black Manta has a very specific blood feud with Aquaman that has to come from somewhere. The Joker's is because he's a force of nature, and Batman is kind of a force of nature, right? Like, they were destined to clash.
Yeah.
But it's very personal, right? With Black Manta. He just wants to kill Aquaman. He kills his baby. Like, it's more than just like, they're not fighting for the soul of the city. They're just fighting each other. So I think it actually makes sense to humanize him a bit, to make Aquaman responsible for the death of his father and things like that. Also, that also solidifies Aquaman as kind of this, like, he's a warrior, but he makes mistakes. He is not an infallible hero. He's a hero that kills, and then he has to deal with the consequences of that, including sometimes killing the wrong person. Like, that's a thing. And I do think it makes Black Manta more interesting. And, like, watch the movie. That gets played to great effect in the movie. Like, I don't think Black Manta would feel, certainly in the context of the story of the movie, I don't think Black Manta has a motivation if you don't do that story.
Yeah.
So I love, I actually really like the idea of how personal this feud is and how specific it is, because it makes sense. When Aquaman was dead, Black Manta just became like a fishmonger. He just like did other things. He was like, that's it.
Yeah.
He's not out to make everything chaos. He's just out to kill Aquaman. And then as soon as he realizes Aquaman's back, he like guts a bunch of people in the market and puts the helmet back on, and he's like, it's time. And he's like, it's kind of amazing. I dig that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
His second question here from Josh, it says, lame or weakness, having your hands bound by a man or needing water every hour. But for real, what happened to his dependency on water? Right.
So the hands bound by a man, that was like Golden Age Wonder Woman's weakness. That if a man managed to bind her hands,
we did talk about this in one of our first episodes.
Yeah, like our third episode or something like that. It's in there.
That's really just because of that writer's creep value.
Well, it's not creep value. The whole point is that it's not creep value. He was just into bondage. He was into what he was into.
I guess.
He wasn't like, bind her hand. He was just like, bind her hands. Anyway, Aquaman did for a long time have a very particular thing, which he needed to be like in the water at once an hour, every hour, or he died.
Or that was wriggled around on the land until he died.
Yeah, but like that's sort of like was his version of like the lantern ring is charged for 24 hours, which used to be a thing.
Yeah,
or whatever it was. And then I think what happened to sort of stories like that is they were like, that doesn't really make sense for what the power is. Like it's such an arbitrary marker. So then the Green Lantern one was like, how much have you used your ring? It's more like a gas tank now, right? Like, did you use your ring a bunch? Now you got to recharge it. Did you not use your ring? You're fine. Like,
if you keep using your ring like that, you're going to go blind.
Like that. Jesus. Got these hairy palms from using the ring.
You know what I mean?
But you know what I mean? Like, that makes more sense than like, you get 24 hours, make as few or as many constructs as you want.
If you were,
that doesn't make sense.
If you wrote your own Green Lantern story, would you create one ring to rule them all? I'm just saying.
Is that what the Phantom Ring was? Maybe.
Oh. Yeah. I'll show you the Phantom Ring.
Ashnash Dorbataluk. Ashnash Gimbatu.
So,
but for Aquaman, it's the same sort of thing. That just saying like every hour was kind of arbitrary. And also, he is half Atlantean. Like, he's fine.
Yeah.
Like there are Atlanteans that cannot survive on land. The Highborn kind of can, because they sort of retain... Well, they kind of retain like a connection to like the Atlantis pre-sinking, right? So, people like Nereus or Mira or whatever, they can survive on land. Now, what it's become is that Aquaman doesn't need to be in the water once an hour every hour. But let's say you were in a desert, a bunch of characters are in a desert, it will affect Aquaman first. you know, like if they're stuck there for a long time, who's a character that will get more affected by it? It'd be like the human ones.
Yeah.
Because Wonder Woman's fine and, you know, Superman's fine. The human ones and Aquaman will be he will be susceptible in the way that Superman's susceptible to magic or whatever. Green Lantern's susceptible to fear. Doesn't mean he can't push through or that he doesn't have a strong constitution, or doesn't even mean that he's got to be like, I've got like 30 seconds. Like it's not like that. But that's a way you could fight Aquaman. I think in Endgame, which is a Batman arc, Batman has this Justice Buster suit, and I think the thing that he uses on Aquaman is some sort of like putty that kind of sucks the water out of Aquaman's body, and that sort of like immobilizes him, depowers him, and stuff like that. So I think that's like the version of it now. It's not like a ticking clock. It's just, you know, he is Atlantean. He needs water. You want to hurt him long term or things like that. You keep him out of that, or you keep Superman out of yellow sunlight, or that sort of idea, I think, is the idea.
That being said, he after he eats, he does have to wait 3 hours before going on land.
He has a big meal. He's like, we need you at the Hall of Justice. He's like puking.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
He just gets crampy.
Nice.
Yeah. The next question comes from a different Axel. Probably the same Axel, just with...
Could be a different, like, social media account.
As if we're lucky to have enough to have two different Axels. I think we just get the one.
Yeah.
This is probably the same person. But this is Axel H90.
We do not have a car's worth of axles. Let's put it that way.
A gaggle of axles.
Well, no, like two. Like
a murder of
a
axles.
front axle and a back axle.
Oh,
like
you're fucking...
your car.
Yeah, fuck you. Axel H90 asks, what do you have to say to all those suckers out there who called Aquaman lame for all those years?
Get fucked. No. No, I very respectfully.
Please get fucked.
Please fuck yourselves. Yeah. No, go see the movie. Like, there's lots of stuff in there that still can be deemed kind of silly, but it's also dope as hell. So, like, yeah. Why hate on something when you can have fun with it?
Exactly.
Like, go enjoy yourself, man. And Octopus fucking plays the drums. It's fucking Topo.
Octopus plays... Is that actually happening there?
Yeah, in the Ring of Fire.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that from, like, a Disney thing?
Well, I mean, I assume an octopus plays the drums in The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
They're not riffing on that, though.
Oh. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I guess there are so few cinematic instances of an octopus playing the drums that you could argue that they're riffing on it.
Yeah.
But, like, that's like saying, like, the first 2 times in a movie someone walked down the street was the second time riffing on the first. Like,
I'm just saying maybe that they took, like, the what's the underwater ballroom from Disney, where they have, like, the what's it called? There's a name for, like, they have like underwater party. It's like a Disney song. You should know this.
It's not Under the Sea?
No. It's like a separate thing. It's from before Little Mermaid.
I don't know. Why would I know this?
Because you are directly connected to...
I'm my own person.
Come on.
You're right.
Anyways.
But yeah, what I would...
The Codfish Ball. That's what it was. The Codfish Ball. It's a song from Disney. The Codfish Ball, they have an octopus playing that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, what I would say is please go fuck yourselves, but also watch the movie. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Come on back now.
Respectively, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
A gentleman's go fuck yourself, if you will.
Go fucketh thyself.
All right. Well, the next question comes from John Hutch 860.
John Hutch.
John 860. John 8:60. It's a lesser known chapter of the Bible.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm
And lo, the joke did not land.
Oh, God. John asks, my first introduction to Aquaman was the New 52 run. Before that, I definitely thought he was a joke, but that run changed everything for me. I think a lot of people.
Definitely.
Then I read the Peter David run, which I really liked also.
That's the 90s, yeah.
Are there any other notable runs I should read? It's a great question.
Sure. I've got to say, some people didn't love the Rebirth Aquaman because they felt like it was too, like the arcs were too long. And I could definitely I can kind of get on side with that. Like some of the arcs go like, 12, 14 issues, but I really like it because it's all like the political sort of intrigue of like being king, but your people don't want you to be the king, but you're the only one that can safely be the monarch and keep the peace and stuff like that. So I would definitely suggest the Rebirth run of Aquaman. I think it's really, really interesting. There's some cool stuff. Cool villain in Coram Wrath. That's a very, very neat thing. There's some great Black Manta stuff in there. So definitely recommend that. As a curiosity, I would recommend you read like anything to do with Sub Diego. So yeah, when San Diego gets sunk into the sea, and but people in this town were being like genetically altered to survive, it becomes kind of this like new version of like an Atlantean sort of.
It's like Futurama's old New York.
Kind of, yeah. So that's really neat. It's also the introduction of Lorena Marquez as the second Aqua Girl. Like that's pretty cool. I would definitely check out sort of Sub Diego stuff, but I would probably stop by the time you get to Aquaman becoming the Dweller in the Depths.
Really? That sounds really cool.
It should be cooler than it is.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So Sub Diego is kind of interesting as a curiosity, but I would also recommend, like, I think it's late 70s, early 80s. There's an arc called Death of a Prince that sort of spans Aquaman, the end few issues of the first volume of Aquaman's solo series, but also some issues of Adventure Comics. And this is the arc where Black Manta kills Arthur and Mira's baby. It breaks up Arthur and Mira's like marriage. Arthur turns on Aqualad. Like for the era, it's like a surprisingly good arc. It shows like the sort of the depths and depravity of Black Manta. It also features Black Manta taking his helmet off and revealing that he is in fact black. Haven't you wondered why they call me Black Manta?
Oh yeah, God.
But it's maybe like the first Aquaman arc. You know what I mean? Like in the way that we kind of know it now. I would definitely check out Death of a Prince. I think that's worth reading.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave Instagram and head on over to the email.
Check the email.
I hope it's from a female.
I feel like yours gets louder and more aggressive every time.
Like much of my life.
Happier with your mouth open.
That's what she said.
No.
First question comes from Dave Rossi.
Hey, Dave.
Dash will turn off the podcast. Wait a little while.
Wait, we've got something for you.
Yeah, but right now,
which you wouldn't know because you aren't hearing me talk because you've turned off the podcast.
That's right.
But
don't worry, Dave. You can turn on the podcast later.
We will give you explicit instructions and a timestamp when you can turn it on. The timestamp is from 000 to 002
when we completely abolish the idea that we've come into.
Yeah.
Dave asks, in Dan Abnett's most recent Aquaman run, which I really enjoyed, we're introduced to Vulko. Once one of Arthur's most trusted allies, he's then on the outs with Aquaman. Can you explain their relationship and the events that led to its current standing?
Sure. So the Dan Abnett run he's referring to Rebirth Aquaman.
Yeah.
So Vulko is a character who is like a mentor to Arthur. He's like an advisor to the king. He's a long time Aquaman supporting cast member, basically. He's in the movie. He's played by Willem Dafoe.
Which is one of the questions, actually. He says, what do you think of Willem Dafoe's being cast as Vulko?
Totally. So in the New 52, Arthur, the way that arc in the New 52 starts, he has given up the throne to Orm, who, as far as we know, is ruling responsibly.
That's new.
Like that was sort of the setup, that he's not like a psychotic maniac. He's got a chip on his shoulder.
He's got a chip on his shoulder.
Like
that's made him go a little crazy.
Or just, he's not even explicitly evil. He's just Atlantis first, fuck the surface, kind of
make Atlantis great again.
Kind of. But
Mega. Oh my God.
But essentially, Orm is on the throne and it's okay. And Arthur is a hero on the surface world.
Yeah.
In the Throne of Atlantis arc, which the movie is loosely based on, basically a couple of events pit Atlantis and the surface world against each other. It looks like the surface has attacked, which gets Orm like, he's like, brother, I don't want to fuck up the surface, but I'm going to because this cannot stand. Blah, 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 blah. Arthur's trying to stop the Justice League from making things worse, but then he makes things worse. And like it's basically like a war between the surface and the sea, and Aquaman he's forced to beat Ocean Master and assume the throne. And there's this great like panel of him going, "I am your king," like standing in like a rainstorm, and he's like punched the helmet off Ocean Master and stuff.
There can only be one.
Yeah, kind of. So and he does this, and he doesn't want to be king, but he does it because he has to. The big twist of that comic book arc is that Vulko is the one who orchestrated. You think someone orchestrated it. You think Ocean Master orchestrated it.
Yeah.
But it's Vulko.
Whoa.
And he did it because he wants Arthur on the throne. Because Arthur is the rightful, like, and that's all it is. So like
which they show that a bit in the movie.
So Vulko is like, he's still like, he's trying to support Arthur, but he's doing it through this like maniacal way. So they took this character that was like a long time good guy and supporter and basically made him like kind of psychotic, but for a good reason kind of thing. In the movie,
we get a version, but it's a very watered down version.
Waiting for the full comic book thing to come out, and it doesn't.
No.
But that's fine. And I actually really like Willem Dafoe as Vulko.
I think he totally makes sense for that character.
I think he plays like the sort of keeper of Atlantean wisdom, like someone that would just know a lot about history or something. Like he plays that really well, and he's got a good rapport with like the actors that play younger versions of Arthur. When you see those sort of like training montages,
feels believable. He does feel like a man out of where he's supposed to be when you see him on land. Like that, there's something always about Willem Dafoe that it's always just like something's wrong. But so I feel like it makes a lot of sense.
But Arthur, I've been like a father to you.
Wow, it's a nice blend today.
So there's, but yeah, basically at the start of that rebirth run, because we've been through the New 52, that is why Arthur and Vulko are on the outs, because of what he did. Yeah. Arthur imprisons Vulko after that. Mm-hmm. But it's because of that Throne of Atlantis arc where he basically brings the world to like the brink of war just to put Arthur on the Throne of Atlantis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question comes from our friend Jesse, also known as Puff Cheek Pastries, makes lots of food, makes delicious treats for me. I wish I could cook.
Jesse.
Jesse, friend. That's just his drops are getting longer and longer.
So long.
Jesse asks, hello there, good doctor and super producer Richard. Super producer, I like this. It's a nice extension.
I don't like that.
Super producer Richard, I enjoy this. I think I might add that.
I mean, he only puts like dozens of hours of work into this every week.
If you really want to know where I put all my time, listen to our Patreon episode, Alfred.
That was like a year's worth of time.
Yeah, more than I ever should have spent. And then he goes on to say, I got some questions in regards to Aquaman's hand. We're getting a lot of those today. And his companions. First, what led to his hand being cut off? How did it go from hand to hook to magic to hand?
Sure.
And did the change in hand type make an impact on his character, or was it just aesthetic?
Sure. So, how does he lose his hand? He's fighting this villain called Charybdis, and basically this villain manages to kind of disrupt his ability to communicate with sea life. Mm-hmm. Kind of steals it, actually, I think. But essentially, Aquaman is not able to temporarily communicate with sea life. And as they're fighting, he grabs Aquaman's hand and like puts it into this pool of piranhas, and they eat it down to the bone. And he just ends up with this like bone skeleton hand. And he kind of goes into this cave, and he's all like, oh, my hand. And he kind of brooding, and he comes out, and it's bandaged up. He's put a hook, like a harpoon on it.
Whoa.
And then he has that for a couple of issues until he gets like a proper upgrade, which is this like cybernetic hook that can shoot out, and it's got a cable and stuff like that. Like, and then he has the hook hand for a long time, but it does kind of mesh with what's happening with the character. That era is not him as a king. It's him as like a loner like sort of in exile, willfully isolated, kind of very antisocial, very, I won't say Batman-esque because he's not necessarily like weepy sad, but he's like just like get the fuck away from me, like
Brooding.
Yeah, kind of broody, sort of Aquaman. The Hook does eventually get destroyed, and he's cast out of Atlantis and deemed a traitor because of story events, and he's sentenced to death by desiccation. Or dehydration, basically.
Oh, wow.
So he's put in like the desert, but he ends up finding the secret sea, and there's this lady of the lake, and she bestows on him the water bearer hand. That's where he gets that. And there's almost like a sort of like jaunty piratey vibe to the Aquaman comic for a little bit when
That's
he gets
fun.
that, and he shaves, he's like clean shaven again. So I guess you could say like aesthetically getting the hand also sort of like has an impact on like the general tone of the character, but it's not necessarily like a big thing.
Yeah.
Then he eventually dies, as we said. He gets mutated and then he dies. He gets resurrected in Blackest Night, and then at the end of Blackest Night, rather, he's fully resurrected by the White Lantern, and he comes back with both hands. And then in Brightest Day, Black Manta cuts the hand off, and Black Manta's got this line, like Aquaman's holding the stump, and Black Manta says, "You really should be used to that."
Oh.
And then because it's the White Lantern and that, I'm pretty sure he gets his hand back
Okay.
before the New 52 happens. And then New 52, he's got a hand, and he's always had a hand. Although now that it's Rebirth, like, who knows, maybe some of the Hook hand version, like, past is in there now, but he currently has both hands. But yeah, that's a brief history of Aquaman's hand.
That's really funny. All right, well, let's go to the second part of this question, which is, and finally, can you explain who the two Aqualads are, and if there are more? And he also says, thanks for taking the time to answer. And if you got a problem with a born and raised California boy saying y'all, come down here and I'll show you what's up, foo.
Wow.
So I didn't.
He turned on us so quickly
I
while
know.
still submitting a question.
What I think is, I forgot that I didn't even know that this had happened until editing that episode.
Oh, yeah.
And realizing that I got this I think this is during the drunken aggressive portion of the doc mess.
Yeah, like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just basically all that we could save.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Right. So the first Aqualad, the main one, the one that was like a member of the Titans and things like that. That's Garth. Now, he's from a different sort of sect or like section of Atlantis called the Idolists or something like that. He has purple eyes. And again, because Atlanteans are super xenophobic, there's some sort of prophecy and like horrible things about someone with purple eyes.
Of
and they're like,
course.
kill him.
Yeah.
And he's rescued. But he has some of the sort of Atlantean kind of sorcery abilities, some sort of water manipulation, some like actual magic and like energy kind of blasts and things like that. So he has slightly different powers to Aquaman. But yeah, like I said, Garth is like the Aqualad from the original Teen Titans. He's the one that was like there with Dick Grayson, Robin, and Donna Troy, and Wally West, Flash, and Roy Harper and them. The second Aqualad was introduced in Brightest Day, so like 2010 or whatever, and then became a lead character in Young Justice. That's basically like the two places where he was introduced. His name is Jackson Hyde / Calderon.
Mm-hmm.
He's the son of Black Manta, but like raised sort of Atlantean. And he has water manipulation powers, and again, a sort of connection to that Atlantean sorcery. He is also in Prime continuity right now. I think he's a member of the Teen Titans with Damian Wayne and Wallace West. And that. So there are in both Young Justice and in main continuity comics, there is Garth and there is called
Wayne.
Garth. Yeah, Garth and Wayne. No stairway denied. Yeah, so those are the two Aqualads. Now, there have been multiple Aqua Girls.
Mm-hmm.
Tula.
Really?
Was an Aqua Girl. Tula is another Atlantean was like a love interest of Garth's and things like that. Currently in the comics, she like leads like the Atlantean Guard or something like that. So Tula is one of them. I think briefly Dolphin was considered an Aqua girl. But Dolphin is another sort of sidekick / like passionate love interest of Arthur's when he and Mira were on the outs for a bit. A source of tension for he and Mira, one might say. And then, like I said, Lorena Marquez is a resident of San Diego who's the first one rescued when it's sunk into the sea, and it's discovered that she gets gills somehow, and she becomes Aqua Girl. So Lorena Marquez is another Aqua Girl. But yes.
What about Madison from Splash?
God damn it. But yeah, so those are a couple of Aqua Lads and Aqua Girls.
Okay. And with that, we're leaving the emails heading on over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
That's right. And this is the last question for the episode, which comes from our old friend MadSeb77, also known as Roland Sebas.
Roland Sebas.
The most interesting resident of them all. Roland asks, "Hey Doc, Roland Sebas here.
Roland Sebas.
Question about Aquaman. Does he have a certain connection to the red? We've talked about this a little bit. The animal nexus, trying all the animals, since he can communicate with sea life. In the film, it felt like if it was a portion of the red, but underwater. Thanks as always, Jacques.
Right. So I think we were talking about it in the film is that when Arthur gets the trident of Atlan, there's a sense that we know he already has some talking to marine life powers because he uses them in the movie.
But then you get this visualization
of maybe it's unlocking his sort of full potential, because you see it like firing through his synapses and connecting to different animals and things like that. And I think you're right. If you were going to try to show what does a connection to the red, to the morphogenetic field look like, it was probably like just a web of all of these animals, and you have these.
I didn't even think about it like that, but it's totally true.
Connections are made. That maybe that we are all in that web, but only certain people can connect the dots. Yeah. And you certainly get that sense in the movie when he grabs the trident of Atlan, that the power that he gets is to connect those dots for marine life. It's clearly not explicitly the red, but if you were making a Swamp Thing movie, let's say, in the DCEU, it would be a very, very easy thing to do to have a similar effect to connect you to plants or to show Animal Man, to show a connection like that. Like, that might be the way I'd visualize some of that stuff anyway. So not a stretch to imagine that that's a thing. Like I said, I don't think it's ever been explicitly stated that Aquaman is connected to the red. It has been said a couple of times that he has a connection to the blue or the clear, which again is a concept that's continuity wise kind of murky about like how it exists or even if. But as headcanon or as like a reasonable understanding of how the world works, I don't think it's crazy to think that either intentionally or not, Aquaman gets his powers from some very minuscule connection to the red. His powers are telepathic. He doesn't draw on the abilities of animals. But the fact that he can only communicate like with a certain type of animal as opposed to just being like telepathic like Martian Manhunter maybe says something that there's a very small infinitesimal connection to the red or something like that. Again, not explicit, but reasonable sort of like headcanon, made up, understanding of how like things function in DC.
Maybe we'll get that in the future. Who knows?
If a writer did that, I wouldn't like throw the book.
No,
I'd be like, sure.
Yeah, sense.
Like I think it's a reasonable assumption.
Have Swamp Thing and Aquaman done anything together?
They have actually. In the New 52, there's a couple of issues. It's neat because then when Swamp Thing forms underwater, he's made out of seaweed and things like that, as opposed to like trees and
And then any of the avatars of the red got involved with him.
Not explicitly.
Because I'd be curious to see how
it would be cool to see like
that might be a good villain, honestly. Somebody who's an avatar for the red, because then I mean,
Brother Blood or something.
Yeah, but like, because then it's like who controls the sea creatures, right? I mean,
sure, yeah. No, that would be interesting. Yeah, maybe someone like Brother Blood who does have like a connection to the red or something like that.
That could be rad.
Yeah.
I'm into that. All right. Well, before we head to everyone's favorite part of the
How do I forget it every time?
Before we do that, we've got a surprise for the Doctor.
What?
Sent from the third off mic member of the Dr. DC podcast.
What?
A Christmas gift that came late from our records keeper,
What?
Josh Gill.
No, Gil, you didn't have to do this. This is too much. It's a Rolex, Gil. This is too much.
He already knew he bought my love, so he doesn't need to. I just need a few photos and I'm good. I can't show you what he got me.
Well, he got you an erection. Let's just call it like it is.
Oh yeah, he's been giving me that gift for months now.
It saved your marriage.
Sure, definitely made things more
Excuse
interesting.
me, sweetie. I just need to look at Instagram for a little bit.
Need to look at those Instagams, if you know what I mean.
No, he didn't.
What is it? Ooh.
It's Aquaman, the pop, and he's in the suit.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And this is perfect because I got Mira from my wife and I bought myself Ocean Master.
And so now you have the actual armored suit
That is...
movie version of Jason Momoa's Aquaman.
Gil, that is too much. Thank you so much. That is...
Impressive, because I would have thought he would have already had that, so that's awesome.
Now I've got the one from from BVS.
Yes.
And this one. That's awesome. Thank you so much. God damn it. Oh, and he's standing in splashy water.
Yeah, he is. It's neat.
Don't shit on this.
That's right, little guy. Well, now we're at a big high. Let's go to a way down low, because now you have to come up with a character for this week's Dial Doc.
Oh, I've got one.
Wow. Okay. What's your Dial Doc this week?
My dial dog is called Magi.
The gift of the match.
No.
We just got
No.
Okay.
Basically, what Magi can do is take the abilities of any two people and just swap them.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I like.
So
that.
they don't get to keep the thing they had.
Yeah.
They have to get rid of the thing they had, but they get the thing the other person had.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I got it.
But he can do that with powers, can do it with memories, can do it with anything. But basically,
childhood trauma.
Childhood trauma, yeah. But that's Magi. That's what Magi can do.
That's nice. I like that. Is he a villain?
I think that would probably work best as like a dial E for evil kind of thing.
Ooh, yeah. Who would it be the villain of?
Well, no, it's just like I don't do that. It's just the dial. You just become a random.
All
thing.
right. Mine this week is Cogsworth.
Okay.
Who's he's like a 30s grifter kind of guy.
Oh, he's not like a clock that works with a candlestick?
No, that would have been 3 episodes in of Docmas, but this one, he can create sort of like a butterfly effect to make things happen by talking to someone at the very end of the chain of whatever he wants to do. So if he wants to, like, say, take down a villain,
right,
he can like talk to like the lowest henchman, and through a series of events, basically, will eventually make whatever he wants to happen. But it's so hard to even stop what he's doing because he goes so far back in the chain.
Sorry. So it's imperceptible because he's so far back in the chain.
Yeah.
And his power is basically just cause and effect.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is he basically just like lets things happen and then claims that he did it.
Yeah, but he does do it.
But he could do literally anything and then be like, me doing or not doing it made this happen.
Yeah.
So he's just taking causality and taking claim for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like kind of like Dirk Gently.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Like. Sure. That actually, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cogsworth.
I get it.
Oh, God. Well, we would love to hear what type of characters you residents can come up with.
Totally.
We've been getting some good ones through our voicemail, which we'll give you the number shortly. But I definitely love hearing the characters you guys can come up with.
Yeah, it's Richard's number. It's 867.
Hey, whoa. Okay. You got way too close.
I was just guessing.
I mean, yeah. Because shut up. All you have to do is send us a message using the hashtag DialDoc and send us your idea for a hero or villain, maybe somewhere in between. Or you can just talk to us online. You can send us a question for our next episode's 100, which is going to be a special. So I don't know if we're taking any questions from residents for that episode.
No, we're not. That's more just like kind of a special extravaganza.
But we are still taking questions for our 101 episode.
We are. That, and by the way, that 101 episode will be sort of intro to DC Comics. Could be like questions just about like, like how do you find a comic book store, or how do you decide what to read, or what's a character I might be into, or
exactly.
It could be like literally any question. If you have friends or family that maybe like have asked you questions about comic books,
or somebody you want them to get into,
and you want to pass that on, like we're taking all those questions. And then the big thing, Dave, Dashel, turn on the podcast. Dashel, episode 101. You will be allowed to listen to it.
It's not going to, no explicit tag.
No swears, no innuendos.
And who's endo?
No fun.
We're playing it straight.
Dashel, turn off the podcast.
Yeah.
It's going to be fucking dope.
Yeah. So fucking
I've got to get it out of my system.
Absolutely.
It's going to be such a challenge.
Motherfucker. That's going to be so good. I'm very, very excited for that. So if you want us to send us a question for that episode, or send in your own dial doc, all you have to do is reach out to us through our various social media platforms, such as Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
our Twitter,
at Dr. DC,
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast,
our email account,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
Also, lots of fun to be had on our subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
Almost caught you there.
I made it happen.
But also, you can not only talk to us online, but you can also read some of our DC specific articles or view our many merchandise wares. Khajiit
You are many wares.
Khajiit has many wares. Have you played Skyrim yet?
No.
Oh my god.
I was doing Watto.
Oh, it's basically the same. It's Khajiit talks more like this. It's a talking cat who is...
No, he don't.
No parts, no deal. Also, my wife and I recently were trying to watch episode 1, and she just like couldn't stop hearing my voice every time the Watto talks.
Totally.
So good. But not only that, you can... did we say the website? It's the website.
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
Yes. And now you can call us. We've been getting some voicemails. We got a whole bunch through documents that were awesome. There's actually some... There's a couple that we've been sitting on that I got to bring back up that didn't make it. But give us a phone call. The doc phone is now open. All you have to do is call 208-917-3238. That's 208-917-DCEU for if you're nasty. Don't forget to rate and review us on 5 stars on iTunes. We haven't got a review in a little while, I don't think, so it would be nice to get a new review. If we get to 30, we'll do a video live stream episode.
Yeah.
So you can see how stupid we look in person.
Yep.
And see the doctor cringe every time I make an inappropriate comment.
But it will also force Richard to wear pants, which I'll appreciate.
But yes, so if we get to 30 reviews, we're at 21, I think, right now.
Yeah.
So we'll do a live stream video episode, which will be fun. And give you a reason to actually go to our YouTube channel, which we have.
Yeah, we do. That's right.
Yeah. We're on YouTube and Stitcher.
You can listen to us on YouTube, Stitcher, all the places. And if you want more and more in-depth and more kind of like offbeat content from us too, we got our Patreon. It's patreon.com/DrDC. It's only $5 a month. You get a full extra episode every week. It's pretty
And we've got like 8 episodes now that you can go back and listen to. So there's a whole bunch of content that you're not getting. So if if you somehow went all the way back and caught all the way up and you want more Doctor, you can get an extra episode every week. So
totally.
All right. Well, with that, we will see you next week. Same doc time, same doc channel. Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
Blah, 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 blah.
Heroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.